that pedal. Come on, man.
Oi,
Yeah.
oi,
Yeah.
oi.
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely in the building on a Monday night. You know what I'm saying?
You start already. You
Yeah.
start already.
Yeah. Who don't like it can go scratch.
That's right. Cratch. Cratch. Yo, man,
Yeah.
what's going on, man? It's good to see you, man.
And I promise you the feelings are definitely mutual because it's good to see you as well.
Man.
I'm-
Listen, man, before we
yeah,
last time we met, there was no election.
there was no election. And
Today, the calling an election was sure by others.
and I hope that everybody else is called an election. It's sure. The word of God declares, and the trump shall sound.
Yes, yes, yes.
You feel me?
I feel you, man.
It's I don't know, P. I feel like it's a warning.
I don't know what to think. All I know is my candidate did not win.
No, mine didn't win either.
Okay. And
Just so we're on the same page.
yeah, yeah. I am a little bit troubled.
Yep. Go ahead, talk. Let me plug this
Not
back.
because of how we lost. I'm more troubled by how he won.
Yeah.
That may sound crazy, but
No, I'm troubled by it as well because I watched and this name is going to come up a lot in the near future. Elon Musk.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And I watched how he played a role in the whole thing. And I don't care what nobody says. There was propaganda that was created
For the past 4 years, bro. For the past 4 years. And here it is what really gets me. I'm gonna be honest with you, right? I'm when I mean that I'm a political guy, right? I watch from the back, but I don't tell people what to do. Right? But I will honestly say that there are a lot of brothers that did not vote for the sister. And I think that I'm just gonna say it, man. No Latina should have voted for my man. No Haitian should have voted for my man. No Puerto Rican should have voted for my man. Um, and I think that however it went, so let it be. I'm not disheartened. I'm not upset. Yo, it just takes me back to, when Gore lost to Bush. Right, I was sad about it, but I had to recognize that that's President Bush. If he asked me to come to the office and have a conversation, I'm going. The only thing is with this dude, I don't know if I would want to go.
Nope.
You understand where I'm coming
I,
from?
I will say this, and then like Faith and I are having some discussions right now.
Okay.
About what we want our future to look like.
Okay, so that means you're moving. You're flying out of the country.
I'm not going to say nothing. I'm just going to say we'll talk the fullness of it.
The fullness of it. You're talking
right?
the fullness of it. Yes,
but we are having some serious conversations right now.
Yeah.
I'll say this, right? I was always taught from an early age, never let your talent take you where your character can't keep you.
Okay.
Does Trump have a talent? He's gifted in a couple of areas. Let me just keep it 100. Despite many times of bankruptcy, despite the many, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you think he is in terms of, my man is gifted and talented in a couple of, he's not as crazy as people think he is, and he's not a fool as much as people think he is.
Indeed.
The response that you see in terms of all of this has a deeper connotation, and it reveals to you where the moral fabric of this country is.
Absolutely.
You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
They want to say that it's been founded like our democratic process and all of these different things, and whoever sits in that office has to do so and have a certain level of integrity and character and morality. And I'm just not a believer that my man has it. And people be like, of course not, Q. Like, look at all the things. It's so stacked up. You know what I'm saying? But without being disrespectful.
Right.
My man is not talented and as gifted as he may be. He is not if the moral majority was a thing, he definitely don't represent that.
Right. He's not the moral guy. And here's the funny thing. He's never what's the word again? He's never said that he was.
He told you right up front who he was.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. Like we just my mind immediately goes to that text where it says men will be lovers of themselves, rebels, and I think that's where we are right now.
Or even that their men's hearts will wax gross, man.
Oh, bruh.
Scoffers of truth. Yo, listen, man. Listen, it's I'm gonna say this right again. I'm not that guy who's like sad and disgusted and busted. I was doing a Revelation seminar for the past 2 weeks at this church, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said that the book of Revelation is not a scary book. It just reveals.
That's it.
And it reveals Christ's character. I want to say that the election wasn't scary. It just reveals, right? It reveals where we live.
You better believe it.
Okay.
You better believe it. So that's where I am right now. What's up? I'm sorry. All right, we'll talk about it tomorrow, okay? And I'll set an appointment for you. All right.
Don't get no trouble, We
the jokers don't care about what's going. Daddy, can I go to the barbershop this weekend?
Yeah, we talk about it.
For sure. You can go to the barbershop this weekend. Yeah.
Oh man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. So,
but that's where we at, bro. I think I won't lie to you and say that when I woke up the following morning, I didn't have a bit of anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
But it took me a short moment to gather myself and just be like, okay, cool. There's some decisions that need to be made and some things you need to put in place. And yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
this season that we're in right now. I don't know about nobody else, but it's teaching me a lot of lessons. Man, shouts out to the Campbell family and
Oh
prayers
man,
going
yo,
up on their
listen,
behalf. That if more than anything, that's the thing that I've been in pain since last week, bro.
listen, man. It's not even that. Gary lost his mother-in-law.
What?
Yeah, yeah. She passed on Sabbath. But you remember Becky? Do you remember Becky Davila?
Yeah, that went to Greater.
No, she went to Northeastern.
Becky?
Becky she went to Northeastern. She passed on Sabbath too.
Yo, what is going on?
Yeah, yeah. It's like that, man. That's what we do. That's what we're doing now. We got folks calling each other, just telling them that they love them. You know what I mean? Because
I'll tell
folks
I'll
are
tell
going.
I'll tell you this, Pete. Last week, Monday, I had a conversation with Pete, and I almost didn't want to get off the phone with him. He was up in Colorado at the time,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
I had just gotten word from my man Kenyon that I'm calling everybody. Pete is up here, and it was almost like he was on this last. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Shouts out to Pete.
yeah. Give a shout
Shouts
out
out
to
to
Pete,
Pete.
man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like for
Hmm.
real. Let me just, yeah. You know what was so crazy about the whole thing, uh, Paul, is that I think Pete just went on this award tour, like because s- I feel like he knew in some way, shape, or form, like this ain't going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
he
yeah.
went around, like people said they saw him at a get together. They saw him here. He went a couple. He was up in Colorado when the organ started shutting down. They wanted to do a surgery for him, but he was too weak. And so they
Yeah.
brought him. Wife went up there. Daughter left Oakwood. Brought him back to Florida for him to. And the Monday that I spoke to him, it was either that Monday or Tuesday that I spoke
Mhm.
to him. I almost ain't want to get off the phone because it felt like, yo, this might be the last conversation I have with my man. And here's the
Listen.
funny thing: I'm getting on asking, like, God, what I'm gonna say to my man? What I'm gonna say to him? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get
Right.
on the
Right.
phone with him, Pete, and instead of me encouraging Pete, Pete is
He's
encouraging
encouraging
me.
you. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Man, it's one of those things where I was looking at all of my texts with him, going back and forth for the past couple of months with him for alumni stuff, man. And it's the thing is not it's not just him. You look at your Facebook pages, man, and your feeds, everybody's is going.
Bro, there's
And
a that's how that go. Hey, there's another
listen,
young lady out of Brooklyn. I forgot her name. She goes to Kingsborough.
that's what I'm taking is Becky.
Oh, that's yes.
Becky.
Okay, good, good. Yep.
Yeah.
Now I make the connection. I couldn't
Right.
remember.
And she from the Bronx, but she go to church in Brooklyn.
Yep.
She's good people. Hey, listen, man. I know we're talking about certain things, man, but man, I wanted to talk a little bit about something, man. I promise I ain't gonna take up all of our time, man. But
Nah, come on.
yo, listen, man, I
Unscripted.
was talking to somebody the other day, and I brought my man on. I just sent him a link to come on.
Mhm.
Um, Accountability, bro. The mindset of accountability,
Yes, sir.
and we talk about you and I talked about therapy.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about therapy. We talked about
Sessions
you
start
know,
next week.
come on, man. And my man who's coming on is a therapist,
Praise God.
and I just wanted us to talk a little bit about this, and so I'm gonna just pause for a second. I'm gonna ask a brother to come up on. Where is he? Where is he? There we go. There we go. Hey, I don't know if you know him, but this brother's name is Say Daniels. I say, do you know Quest? You ever,
Indirectly, I've seen a lot of your work, bro, especially
Oh
the marriage
man,
stuff. I respect it for real.
man, I appreciate you, brother. I
Yeah, no
appreciate you.
question, man.
Yep.
yo,
Yeah,
and listen, man. I know that if you got to go, I say, man, I get it. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
man,
We
I'm just.
moving, we packing house, we moving, we staging, we in that space right now. So
I hear you. I hear you. Oh, so you're
yeah,
leaving from where you are now to somewhere else?
we got the Anthony's parents, my wife's parents. We're in that season. We got to bring them in, make sure they're good. So we moving out of this place to get a bigger space. Mom
Hey,
said make sure
come
I
on.
honor them. So I'm doing that.
My man is absolutely.
Sound like upward mobility to me.
That's right. It sounds like honor to me. You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
Yeah.
Listen, man, one of the things that I recognize about therapy, one of the things I recognize about counseling is that a lot of us as men, right? I'm gonna just put it right, and I can't give any names or whatever, but just the other day, I went, one of my friends, one of my men's called and said, "Hey, I'm going through something." It must have been near 10 o'clock at night. Left, met my man in a parking lot. Another dude came and we spoke for about maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. I believe that I would be a better person. I'm just telling you, I think I'd be a better person if I had somebody other than Pat and Gary, other than my brothers, right? That could locally lift me up when I'm about to do wrong, when I'm thinking to do wrong, or when or just as an accountability. Yo, man, I'm gonna ask you straight off the bat, and then I get to you, Quest. How important is accountability, man? I look at his face. He's like,
I can co-sign on exactly what you just said. If I had the culture in America, the culture in church is that men, and that's a dense question, but it's you don't know how much you need it until you need it and don't have it.
Wow.
And when I think about accountability, I think about my boys, man. I don't have any brothers. And so I have these dudes that have been with me going on 25 years that I met when I was at Howard in undergrad. And those brothers have been through the fire with me. They stood right there when I got married. They went, all the chaos and drama, those who I call first. All the marriage issues and whatever, mom passing away, all those dark spaces that you can fall in by yourself, I call them.
Wow.
Because I knew how I could default if I'm by myself. I knew, and so I just instinctively I don't know what not to do now because I got them. And because they know, they seen the good, bad, and ugly of us. There's nothing they know it all. And they've been right there. And I've been right there with them.
Wow.
So it's man, those are my brothers. I don't care what nobody say. We don't have the same mother, but those are my brothers.
Wow.
So
here's a scary thing, right? How do you find accountability? Does it organically happen?
I was just about to say you got to define it first.
That's right, baby. Come on. Right?
So
go ahead.
Let me say this, right? And then in terms of the definition, there's something about having them for multiple years. You said 25.
That's a long time,
ET, man, because ET was the one who started our prayer line, and it started like in the early 2000s. We've been on that thing for close to 30 years. Now, some of us that are the OGs, we kind of, we jump on every now and then, but the line is still going to this very day.
Man.
And the definition that we came up with in terms of accountability is someone, like for real, who got some kind of decent connection with God. Decent enough where it can be someone who loves you, right? Someone who respects you, but somebody who is not impressed by you. Who you give permission to check you, right? When you're not doing what you're supposed to do, when you're not saying it right. Whenever we're not operating in the fullness of who we're supposed to be operating in, you got a dream, you shared it with me, and what happened to the dream? What happened to the goals? If I see you someplace and you doing something questionable, like,
am I willing?
I'm not gonna put you on blast,
right?
But I'm gonna just be like, yo, bro,
But you gotta blast me personally.
Yeah, when I say blast, I'm not talking about on Broadway.
Yeah.
I'm talking about between me and you. I'm gonna put you on blast between me and you, right, bro? We brothers, and I love you, and you about to tear up. Wendy about to, yep, straighten up and fly right, bro. Straighten up.
Yeah.
Because here's the funny thing: the same permission you gave me, I gotta give you now.
That's right. That's right. That's right, man.
There's
That's
certain
right.
seasons where you dope and you don't, right, and then you giving and you straightening everybody up, you chin checking everybody, and then in the next season you're not as dope as you were. Life done presented some things that you're not as strong as you were in previous seasons, and now you looking shaky, and not because you want to be, it's just that, right? And hence the reason, Daniels, what you do is so important. I told P the other day, I went through some life stuff, trying to connect the dots. I spent too much time trying to connect the dots to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to the gym no more. I'm starting. Okay, those are the first couple of. Okay, enough is enough. Call a therapist. Let's go. I can't afford to, because that's where it starts. And if I don't pay attention to it before long, I find myself in a list. You know what I'm saying? Some crazy relationship with some chick trying to self-medicate. You know what I mean? So,
hey, I listen, man. Let me tell you something. The other day when you hit me up, and when you hit me up and you said, "Hey, I'm just checking to see if you're doing that therapy thing," I was like, "Oh snap!" Because I said I was going to start. I said I was going to do it, and let me tell you what got me, man.
we said,
we said we were going to right. We said we were going to do that, and I'll say, man. Let me tell you what hit me, man. Is that because we work for the same conference, right? You know, we work for the same conference, and we got this thing, Quest, where we can get free counseling, right? I think like 8 sessions. I think they even moved to 16 now. But it's funny. I say when I look at the names, I know these people. It's probably 2 people that I don't know, and one I wasn't comfortable with, and I was just like, I don't know if I can vomit.
Not comfortable. Yeah.
Nah, man, I don't know if I can vomit everything, you know, like that. And but part of accountability is Quest calling me out the blue. It's like, yo, did you start? Did you make the phone call? Did you? And I said, I got to get it going. I got to get it going. You know, I definitely got to get it going.
Because here's the thing too, P. Like, even if I know you, in my mind, I got to start entertaining the mindset, right? Like, me and mindset got to sit down and I know you, but what is my goal? Is my goal like either I don't want to do therapy because I know you, or to be the best version of myself I can possibly be? If I set the goal as, okay, I know you, but even beyond me knowing you, my goal is to be this best version of myself. So if me not feeling comfortable about is what I got to go through to get to the goal, then bring it on. But I'm gonna have a conversation with my therapist and be like, yo, I know you. I'm gonna lay some stuff out here on the table for you. And you should be like trained enough that whatever I'm gonna lay out for you, you're not gonna look at me no differently. And if that's gonna be a problem, let me know right now.
That's my fear. And I just feel like everybody talks to somebody, right? Everybody. That's how I feel. I think everybody talks to somebody. So and you know, when people say, man, I've heard it before, nothing surprises me. Yo, let me tell you something. I still get surprised. I still get surprised. All right. I mean, I'm just telling you, there's some things that I hear that I talk to church folk about. I still get surprised, and I'm in my 50s. I got one for you. I'll say, Yanni made a comment just now. She says, as important as accountability is, why is it so hard for men to seek it or hold each other accountable? Is it because most truly do not know what it looks like? What's your thoughts on that, man?
Number one is pride. God has been hitting me over the head with pride. He said, you know, I may have an introverted personality, but I got just as much pride as the next man. It's pride, because accountability means that I have to be honest about some things that I'm not comfortable with. And I want everybody it's to keep everybody looking at me in a certain light. And I got to keep that image for everybody to see, even though I know it's inauthentic.
Wow.
And that's when it starts to fall apart. And, you know, I think men struggle with becoming, like Quest, you hinted on this, is becoming the next best version of ourselves. Becoming the next best version of ourselves is uncomfortable.
Mm.
And being accountable represents that uncomfort. Look at me in my eyes. And so I don't want to do it.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's where men really struggle. It's so much of a struggle that I've learned, and I know both your brothers will understand that when I look around in the counseling and therapy spaces, the people that look like us, that's there to help serve and minister to others, I mean, it's like point oh something crazy number.
Come on,
Percent
man. Don't say that. Don't say
of
that.
professionals
Are you
that need
serious?
it's woeful. It's woeful. Like somebody, it's and I heard this term. I was listening, I was watching something, and it said that men, especially men of color, are in a friendship recession.
Wow. Men of color. Yo, somebody write that down. Somebody write that down. Men of
Friendship
color.
recession.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I think contributes to it?
Mm-hmm.
Because you said a while ago, we'll say that that men have to pretty much take a good look at themselves in order to get to that next version.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that prevents us from doing that is our inability to be vulnerable.
Because
you got to lay everything out about yourself on the table. And here's the reason why. Like, come on, P will tell you, we come from Brooklyn. And like we used to move in certain places and spaces when you coming up, like in the city, like being vulnerable get you got.
Right.
I got you. Yeah.
We've been taught, take it on the chin, roll with the punches, never let them see you sweat. And as you get a little older, never admit that you're wrong. Never, you know what I'm saying? So never this, never that, never. Then you get into an institution like marriage and all the things that they told you not to do, you now have to do. And you're like, man, I grew up like this my entire life.
Right.
Like always walking around with the armor on, with the, you know what I'm saying? I remember the first time my boy told me, yo, you looking like your armor fell off. Because I remember we were talking on the prayer line. I was like, man, I can feel the sun. You're
looking like
skin,
your armor fell off.
Right. But he didn't mean it in a bad way. He meant it like, yo, you get into that point where you're not always looking over your shoulder kind of thing. And you don't always have to move in that bravado. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of, like what? You know what I'm saying? Like you now can. And I took it like it was offensive. Like, what you mean my armor falling off? But I realized that we don't know how to do vulnerability, and we pretty much got to learn how to do that. If we don't know how to do that, then even if we go to therapy sessions, we're not going to get the results that we're looking for that particular. I can't. Okay, God can't heal what you continue to hide.
Right.
Hey, Quest, this is the key. This is where the education comes, especially for our young men, Paul, where we need to speak to them now and tell them that, that therapy and counseling, the counselor is supposed to walk alongside you, not guide and direct you and pull you forward.
Ooh.
If you go in there and think that they're going to do it for you, you're going to be spinning the block.
Wow. Come on.
You really, and that's where men really struggle, because they, in their mind, they think, what is this person going to do for me if I'm, and then in their spirit, they know I got to grab hold of the wheel and we got to go forward. And that person's supposed to be my co-pilot to help expose and say, watch that pothole, make a left here. And so they're supposed to help reveal and help us hear ourselves say certain things so that the revelation and the breakthrough can come. But it won't happen if we're not ready. And if we're not asking, and I've learned this, and Paul, I'm learning this in ministry full time now, that if people aren't asking questions, they're not ready to receive it anyways.
Wow. If they're not asking questions, they're not ready to receive it anyway.
Nope.
Doesn't matter what it is. And it's definitely a counselor. So when you go into a counselor, you should have a whole list of questions about you that you
Right.
ask the counselor, and then they can start at, and then the dialogue, and then the conversation, then the accountability starts amping up, and you start realizing I can't drag this old version of me around any longer.
My gosh. My gosh. My
And
gosh.
look how long we've been dragging it. You ever? I mean, some of us have never had to. I remember, like, when I was a lifeguard, we had to go to the bottom of the, like, 20 feet and get a block, a big, heavy, I don't know, 20
Now you
pound block.
playing. Now you playing, bro. You're playing.
So,
You're playing.
so we had to do some crazy stuff.
You're playing,
And
man. You're playing.
when you had to rescue people, even in water, pulling somebody is hard. Imagine pulling a lifeless individual that can't move on their own, pulling them. You got, I mean, you sweating, you got everything going on. Imagine that is the old version of us we still dragging around. And we're exhausted. We as men are exhausted emotionally and spiritually, and then we snap and we react short, critical, mean, nasty, because we don't have the capacity to let go. Nobody told us to let go, Quest, of that bravado. Nobody told us, so we dragging it along.
Here's what's so funny. I ain't lived in New York in the last. I left New York in January of 97. And I go back pretty frequently. I remember when I first moved to Atlanta, I was going back like once a month. And then, it starts dying down. And then it's almost like once every other month, like once a quarter, right?
That's a trip, though.
Yeah, until you get to the point where you're going like once a year, it's twice a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how I haven't lived in that environment since 97, because I live in the Carolinas now. But it's amazing but I still got that thing with me where I'm just like, you know what I'm saying? And like when some people come at you a certain way, you immediately jump to the defense. Like I will.
It's what it is. Quest. Let me tell you what it is. Right. It's really about self-preservation.
Yep.
That's
right.
What it is.
You don't trust anybody around you. You don't trust anyone to talk to. And if someone is talking to you, there's something they want to get from you, or they're trying to step up on your issues. They're trying to rise on your issues. So you're always thinking, like, is this person really for me? You know how many times, man, I've sat down with individuals, right, and said, hey, there's an issue that I'm having, not therapists, which is wrong, right? Because I'm sitting there and I'm trusting someone to talk to, and I'm trusting somebody else I'm talking to. And they turn around and be like, wait a second, you can't have that problem. You're a pastor. Or you can't have that problem, or just because someone
because I'm a pastor, I'm a robot.
Right.
Listen, man, I'm trying to tell you, right? Don't get me wrong. I recognize as men, as Christian men, forget about pastors and all that, right? As fathers, as father figures, because I say you can't play, man. You got like 120 kids, man. I'm trying to tell you that right now. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You have so many kids that are watching you, so many young people that are watching you or grew up watching you. That to think that the issue that I see is that the self-preservation takes place when we're saying, I don't trust telling anybody anything. And maybe I don't trust myself to tell the truth.
Here's the funny thing about that, though, P. Those should be our indicators that we need healing.
Right.
Because here's the funny thing. That stuff in and of itself can be suppressed, but it can only be suppressed for so long before it start manifesting itself in other areas, like the way you treat your wife, the way you treat your children, when challenging situations come up with other people, and you know without a shadow of a doubt you could have handled that way better than you handled it. Okay. And so rather than do that, you're creating more traumas. And because we don't have the ability to be vulnerable or share with someone, like for real, how long you gonna be? You're not even in the environment where that stuff happens no more. How is it 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years and you still got that thing? It may not be as big as it was when you was in it, but it's still there. And it's enough to lay dormant for a while, and then the right situation or storm come along, and then boom. You know what I'm saying?
Done.
Yeah.
Done.
And that's the reason why I was like, all right, I'm trying to connect the dots too much, and I'm overthinking stuff, and it's causing me to get even more anxious because I can't work it out. And when we feel like we can't work something out, we feel less than. I'm like,
more than that. Before I bring on my next dude, it's important to understand that when we reach that space, we even make the wrong decisions. We make the wrong decisions. Just pause for a second. Just before I bring on my man. Also, I'm gonna ask if anyone's watching this right now. Yoni, I sent you an invitation. And I'm gonna ask those right now because these numbers are growing. Share this with other people. Share this with you. You ain't got to jump on, but share it. Tell us what you think about accountability, especially as it deals with men, and especially therapy. Hey, David, what's up, man?
What's going on,
Hey, turn your camera this way if you can. There we go. We already know you're broad-shouldered. Right? Okay. And let me be clear about this. Yo, we're gonna get in trouble here. So this is what I'm gonna do, right? I'm gonna switch these cameras around. Right. I'm gonna switch these cameras around. I'm gonna tell you why. Because Ase is a straight Commanders fan. The guy on top of him right now is a straight Steelers fan.
Here we go, baby.
Hey, I'm praying for the both of them.
We deserve that L. I'll take the L. I'll take it. It's okay. I'm not mad. It was a good game, boy. I didn't think Russell Wilson had it in him, but that's another conversation.
You got any anointed oil? Let me just go in and anoint the two of them because
listen, they're in here trying to act accountable. Hey, David, man, I know you for some time. I know you for some years, and what I've recognized about you is that you always have. I'm going to say this. I'm going to talk about from the outside looking in. You always have the right people around you. I'm talking about men. I've noticed you got George that hangs around you. You got what's my man name, Mark, that hangs around you, or just even other individuals that I may not know. How important, man, is accountability?
Man, that's tough. It's funny because we were just talking about this, some of my guys over the weekend, right? And when you're younger, you kind of associate with guys, especially if you're like with me. I've been an athlete. I've always been in the forefront of certain things, and it kind of people always kind of want to maybe be around you, like, hey, I know this guy, he played ball, blah blah blah, right? But then sometimes you can get caught up with that because there's people that are just like yes people to you, right? They're not telling you like, yo, man, you need to work on your game. Like, dog, you stunk it up tonight. You know what I'm saying? Hold on for a second. I got this retainer in my mouth. Or like, you stunk it up tonight. And I found out that there were some cats, man, that I've always wanted people around me that are real. Like if you see me and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, I need you to check me, right? And I think for most guys, you don't really get to that space till maybe later on in life, maybe when you get married and kids like that. And some guys I know personally, they don't like to be accountable, right? They like to deal with their stuff, and when you talk to them about it, they got an excuse with it. And for me, I don't really like to associate myself with those type of guys, right?
Wow.
Because I'm coming at you in the space like, yo, I see some of the mistakes that are being made. I'm trying to help you from a love standpoint, right? And if you don't want to hear it, I'm just gonna have to love you from afar. I can't have you close because, as you guys know, man, you got your wives, your kids. There's a lot going on. So if somebody's not gonna value something out of love,
come on,
and they don't want to hear it, I just gotta have to remove myself from that because there's too much going on. And for the
Man.
flip side, I want folks around me that's gonna pour into me. I was just talking to a couple of guys. They was like, "Yo, man, one of our guys is struggling." And we talked about it, was on the phone for like an hour. It was like, "Yo, man, we just need to go talk to him." But he don't want to hear it. He
Yeah,
don't want to hear it.
but here's the question, Damon, because I feel like to some degree I could be there. I mean, and I'm going to say this, not that people have come to me, like not like men have come to me and said, blah, 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 you need to straighten up and what have you. I think that one of the problems is that people won't come to me, won't come to certain people because they feel like they got it already. You understand where I'm coming from?
Right.
Um,
But
but
here's the thing with that, Paul. There may be they're not who they think they are. Who you might not think. You
Mm.
might think they're the person, but they're not. And you need to maybe look for somebody else in that circle because somebody that knows you knows, like, I see something that Paul's going through,
Mhm.
right? I see something that maybe Ose is going through, or Oliver's going through. It's like if you have to know that those people in your crew, that when you starting to steer off on that boat, they're gonna
Mhm.
will you back in. And if somebody's not
mm,
willing you back in, then maybe they don't need to be in your circle.
jeez,
Yeah, that's real.
that's a that's
Hmm.
a that's a that's a strong statement you just made there, right?
I mean, I'm just saying, we don't have no time to lose, especially when you're trying to do the right thing, right? Like Paul, if I saw you, man, and you was in the street or we was in a store and I felt like something was off, I'm not gonna be like, man, maybe Paul, maybe this is just a one-off. No, I'm gonna come up to you, be like, hey, man, you my man. Well, I just wanted to see how you doing. What's going on? And I know
Yeah, but it's
you
kind of
would
it's kind
be
of
like,
hard to
hey.
lie. It's kind of hard to lie to a 6-footer. You know what I mean?
Hey, I
But
think he
I'm gonna
said
check
something.
on you because I'm accountable. I want you, I want to be accountable to you. You know what I'm saying? And I want somebody to be accountable to me. I don't want somebody to come off like, man, I was scared to talk to Damon, but I saw him in a situation. I just thought he was still good, and I'm gonna pass him by. I might have needed that voice that day.
Right.
Yeah.
I might have needed you to say something to steer me back in. I was telling, I try to teach my kids, right, especially my son as a man. Like he'll tell me, and this is probably just a little bit different, but I want him to be aware, like, hey, he was like, hey, Dad, I saw one of your friends today. And he said, I saw him at the store. And I'm like, and I'm like, well, did you talk to him? No, no, no. I just kind of, passed him by. And not to say that that conversation would have steered somebody the wrong way or the right way, you know what I'm saying? But I want him to get used to knowing that if you see somebody that say what's up. Because
Mm.
that you don't know what that conversation is going to lead to, and you don't know, man, if that brother just needed to see somebody that he knew. Don't run away from a situation or just walk passively away. Man, that brother might need some help. And I want to be accountable to that brother.
That's
That's
serious what
good.
you just said. You said a mouthful of that because
Mm.
sometimes you just need someone to chat to talk to. And let me tell you what's really crazy. I say I don't know if you know this, right? Or maybe Oliver, because you have your own schedule, or because you make your own schedule. Um, um, sometimes in the days when you don't have a 9 to 5, it could be lonely. I'm telling you, it could be lonely. Um, um, that's the point in time when you just feel like I want to hang out with somebody, but everybody's working, right? You know what I'm saying? You can't call everybody, you know. And I think it's really big when someone says, "R.I.P. I think you need a counselor," right?
Right.
And I'm saying this because of Quest. Quest called me. He was like, "Yo, Paul, I think I think you may need a counselor," and we said about both of us. And he held me accountable last week and said, "Did you call? Did you call? Did you get on? Did you get on?" And even though I went through the names, I was finding excuses like, not that one. No, not that one. That one's white. Nah, that one's a white woman. Nah, that's a, and the truth is, you want to get better, but what about the very fact that you don't even know what better looks like?
Right,
Mm.
Here,
right,
thing I
right.
think too, P. I don't even. Sometimes I don't even really need to know what better looks like. I just don't want to take another L.
Wow.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like
Yeah.
when you seen enough and you've experienced
Mm.
enough L's to the point where you know it ain't nobody to blame but me.
Mm.
I don't
Right.
need to know what better looks like. Can you just show me how not to take another L?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And it like if I gotta go through the therapist and be like, that's not the right one. That's not. Then maybe I need to change what the goal is. Because if the goal is to
Mm.
find the right therapist, then we gonna go through this. We gonna get stuck here. That's not the right one.
Mhm.
That's not. And you gonna find all the different reasons as to why this one ain't the right one or that one ain't the right one.
Hey, in other
You
words,
you
I'm stuck on. In other words, I'm stuck on the transportation instead of the destination.
That's it.
Mm.
Because here's the funny thing. That's where I
Mhm.
was, and I had to sit down with myself and be like, "All right, Q, like you want another L? Because that's inevitably what's going to happen if you stay here stuck doing this foolishness that you're doing right now. List out the things that this therapist must have. Everything else is just whatever." Okay, my first therapist that I had was a black woman. And so, because of what she provided for me as a black woman talking to a black man, I was like, all right, my next therapist got to be a black woman. So that's got to happen. It's got to be a Christian. It's got to be somebody who, and I, 5 or 6 things. Everything else was fluff. All right, good. I found one, had the conversation with her. She told me, interview other therapists just so you can make sure that this is the decision that you want. That was what is the opposite of a red flag? A green flag? That was green flag number one. I was like,
Mhm.
Wow.
oh, I
Okay.
love that. Right?
Mhm.
Okay, good. Then God, I was like, God, work this thing out for me. I don't want to make this long and drawn out. All the other therapists had dates that was like 2-3 weeks out, and that was just for a consultation. I was like, I can't wait that long. Right? One therapist that had the date where I could get an immediate consultation, auto respond email came back, was like, on sick leave. And I was like, okay, God, you done made it.
Mhm.
And when I spoke with her, she got to the center quick fast. I'm talking about quick fast. She was like, yeah, you're in a life cycle. I was like, what does that mean? She was like, yeah, you are hyper contemplating a number of different things going on. Bruh, she got there so quick. She almost had
Mhm.
me in tears the way she got
Mhm.
there so quick. I was like, okay, yep.
Mhm.
2 days later, I called her back. I was like, start the session. Because I really wanted to be in office. I need to be on the couch
Mhm.
with you. But because she was like, yeah, she let me know the reasons why she's licensed in 2 states. And that she's in that state. I was like, come on. I'm not going to let that stop me. If I got to be in the house and we got to do this through this right here, then let's do it.
I got you. I
And the
got you.
reason why is because I made who I want to be in terms of becoming that next version. I
Mhm.
made that the goal. So if I got to go through all of this other stuff in order to do that, then uh, uh, this is just a thing that I got to go through. Then, like,
It's so
more
funny.
than that.
Somebody just texted me. They're upset because I didn't introduce the next guest that came in, but I didn't introduce Ali. Ali's a fixture. Right now. But Ali, I gotta ask you this: have you ever came across any guy? I'm talking about guy that had an issue, and then in dealing with the issue or talking with them, they did not want accountability.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
That's majority of them.
yeah.
That's
Oh
that's
yeah.
that's
That unfortunately happens more often than not.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah,
Yep.
Mhm.
yeah. Because and it's not even some people are just hard headed, right? They just trying to be They're just trying to be difficult for the sake of being difficult. But for a lot of us, we're taught that we are supposed to handle all of this on our own.
Wow.
And so if I give in to what you're telling me, that means I'm now relinquishing my ability to do it on my own. And a lot of us don't want to do that. We don't want to relinquish that ability because that is a significant sign of weakness.
Hey, Ollie, real quick, can you differentiate the single dudes and the married dudes? Like, is it the same percentage that you talk to, or is it more so married, more so single?
So I talked to, it's starting to even up now, but initially I talked to more married guys than single guys.
Right.
It's starting to even up now. I'm having a lot more conversations with single guys now. And it's interesting because a lot of the single guys I'm talking to now, although they may kind of a little bit buck against, the accountability piece, they're kind of in the same frame of mind of what Quest was just talking about. They're just like, man, I ain't really trying to rock like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably should be looking for what else is out there.
Wow. And then what else is out there? I mean, straight up, I'll say, I know there's dangers out there. I know you deal with time and time again. You're talking to individuals, you're working with individuals. I mean, anybody can answer this, even if you're online and you want to just text. What are the dangers of not having accountability?
That's what's out there.
Paul, God has been speaking to me about people in general, but we as men, especially men of color, Christian men, Christ followers, that we need to increase the distance between our reaction and our responding.
My God.
Wow.
Because men who have no accountability just react. I like that. I see that. I want that. Boom. And then all kind of bad decisions. And the bad decision, they enjoy it for that season, but they spend 5 seasons piecing their life back together after that one reaction. Accountability increases the response time. So we're making deliberate choices as opposed to emotional or lustful reactions.
Jesus. That's
the key. We can no longer be just instinctual, reactive people. Men, that the accountability helps strengthen us more than we could ever know.
Yeah.
Wow.
We don't know how weak we are until we step into the accountability.
Right.
Because the same time you start trying to become the next best version of yourself, guess who's coming to try to trip you up?
Wow.
And so that's why you need the accountability. And I love this. That it was somebody in boxing said, you don't get knocked out by the punch you see coming. It's the one you don't see coming. And that's what accountability does, is gives you the awareness to say, I'll say that punch is coming over here. That left hook is coming. You gotta bob and weave right there. Because I got hit by that left hook. And that's where that's where that testimony and that sharing is so invaluable, because it goes into the database. So we are responding based on the knowledge as opposed to reacting while we're picking ourselves up off the canvas.
Woo.
How do you get to a place that you've never been before without a strategy? You can't
Say it again. Ask that again. Say it again.
How can you get to a place that you've never been before without a strategy?
You
can't receive beyond your strategy.
I
learned, let me tell you, this is why I love hip hop, because I learned some of the, and I ain't talking about none of this new stuff. I'm talking about, like Rakim said on Paid in Full, he said, thinking of a master plan. It ain't nothing but sweat inside my hands. So I dig into my pocket on my money spent. So I dig deeper, still coming up with lint. So I start my mission, leave my residence, thinking how
I could get some dead presidents.
I need money. I used to be a
stick up kid.
I think of all the devious things I did. I used to
stop. I used to roll up. This is a roll up. Ain't nothing funny.
Funny, stop
Stop
smiling.
smiling.
Still don't nothing move but the money. But now I
Now
learn to
Learn
earn
to
because
earn.
I'm
I'm
righteous.
righteous.
I think great. So maybe I might just search
Search
for a
for a
9 to
Or
5.
9 to 5.
If I try to, maybe I'll stay alive. So I walk up the street whistling this,
Saying this,
feeling out of
feeling
place,
out
'cause
of place,
man, do
because
I
man,
miss
do I miss
a
a
pen and
pen
a
and a
paper,
paper, a
stereo, a
stereo,
taper,
a taper,
me and
me
Eric
and
being
Eric
a
D
nice
with
big
me and
plate
my
of fish,
accountability with a
which
nice
is my
big plate of fish.
which is my favorite dish. But
But
without the
without the
money, it's
money,
still a
It's
wish.
still a wish.
So I don't like to dream about getting paid. So I dig into the books of my rhymes that I made. Prove the test, see if I got pulled, hit the studio because I'm paid in full. How you paid in
Wow.
full
Man.
and you haven't even produced the product yet? Ra was dope. Let me just say that first and foremost, right?
Mhm.
Ra
Right.
was dope. But what he was in essence saying throughout the rhyme is that in order for me to get paid in full, I gotta
I need a
think
plan.
first.
I need a plan.
I gotta put a
Mhm.
strategy together,
Mhm.
and now I'm going to hit the studio. Once they hear this fire that I'm about to put on the paper, he said, I'm already paid in full. I got the
Mm.
strategy. All I got to do now is execute. And with
Mhm.
some of us as men, you don't know the fullness of what you're about to do, or you can't receive what you want to receive. Like you want a dope relationship. You want to be the best version of yourself you can possibly be. You want to move in all these other areas, but you ain't got no strategy. And one of the dopest strategies that you can have is learn to relinquish control in the areas, especially in areas and spaces that you've never been before.
Wow. Ali, I've heard Ali say that before,
Yeah.
right? I've heard Ali say that before. You gotta let, you're not in control.
Mm.
You gotta let that thing go. But what
Mm.
does that look? But what does that look like, Ali? What does letting go look like?
But here's the thing too. Even before you get there, right?
Right.
I was telling a guy recently. I was like, man, there's a process to this, right? So you know, there are people who buck against accountability because they immediately uh, associate accountability with I got to do what you say, and they're not in the space right now where they have relinquished in a way that would allow them to do what you say, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, you know what, bro? Don't even. We'll get there when we get there. How about you let somebody at least stop you long enough to think?
That's what.
Because you ain't thinking right now.
No.
You ain't thinking. You just doing dumb stuff without thinking. You just shotgunning it. So how about accountability in your space right now is just allowing somebody to come into your space long enough for you to stop and be like, hey, you know what? Even if you go ahead with the foolishness, and let's stop for a second and weigh the cost. And let's move from there. Let's grow into that space where you can relinquish, right? Because some of us, we can't jump straight into that, to the deep end of the pool. But
Mhm.
are you at least letting somebody come into your life long enough to be like, hey, bro, have you thought about XYZ? You should probably take 2 seconds and do that.
Wow. Our girl Sade just hit us again. That's why remember we said we
Homie.
don't like
That's
her.
the homie.
We don't like her at all.
No,
She
P, you
makes this
don't like her.
comment,
I
man.
love her.
She makes this comment, man. Accountability is the absence of pride.
Mm.
Oh my
Man,
goodness.
that's
I'd say
good.
that's one of the first things you hit us with, man.
It's
And
that
Why in the
pride.
world? You said
That's true.
0.0 what? What did you say? What did you say?
I got to go back and crunch the number and find the numbers again. But there's just it's like Damon. It's like us going to find some shoes in the store. We can order our shoes online. We can't buy our big feet nowhere, or we send our wives to hopefully go find some. That's how we get shoes because we know we it ain't gonna happen.
mm,
That's how hard it
Wow.
is to not only find a therapist, and I think that I was thinking about that earlier. A lot of men, Quest, don't know how to don't know what to ask for when looking for a therapist. They go
That's
in there
right here.
blind, and so they go in there struggling. They know they need that space, that accountability, but that's all they know, and they don't know that they don't have to agree and have they can say no to certain things that will make them feel the most comfortable because the unearthing and the excavation of the stuff that's in you that needs to come out is a very sensitive space for us. And most of the time, we ain't gonna talk to nobody. We'll go to our grave happily and keep that stuff buried. But we know it when those things are, especially emotions, when emotions are suppressed, they become toxic. And when emotions are toxic, they spill out negatively on the people closest to us. They usually have nothing to do with the situation.
Man, get out my
Wow.
That's where the issue comes from. And that's
Pee
where
Wee, turn your camera. Pee Wee, turn your camera to the side, if you will.
It's crazy because that now you stuck with all of this emotional turmoil because you know you're supposed to be better, but you won't do the thing. You fearful of the thing that would.
And let me say this too, right? Let me say this too, because there's there's another side to that coin that we often don't recognize because it manifests itself as pride.
Okay.
Is once you have gotten in this rut of bad decisions and, like Quest said, taking L's, and these things are happening in your life, sometimes what looks like pride and resistance is actually embarrassment. And I'm too embarrassed to admit to you, and it manifests itself as pride, but it's not the malicious, I don't care what you have to say, as much as it is, man, I don't even want you to see how bad of a mess I'm in. And so being able to kind of distinguish and decipher between where that person is important as well, because now you know how to serve that person, how to speak to that person, how to support that person. Because you may not rush in. It may be just, hey, listen, man, let's get you to the point where you just realize, recognize, and accept that it's okay.
Man, I got you, Ali. I got you. I'm and in fact, I'm more upset that you said it. You know what I mean? David, go real quick.
I was saying, I wonder what it is that keeps us in that place, because the devil plays mind games on us and says to us, "Don't you say that." They're gonna play you. And the thing that you find is when you do say it, you'll have more people who will say, "Yo, I'm in that same place."
PJ asked the question, right? He says, "How do you get rid of the pride?" And then when you go down again, Annalisa makes this comment that it could be sometimes shame. I'm going to ask you this, right? And you could plead the fifth if you want to, Damon. Can you name one guy, right? One guy that is your straight up ride or die, will come and pick you up from Las Vegas? Can you name that person? Can you name a person? And if you don't have to, but if you can, you know.
You mean fly from here, go to, just pick me up from a situation?
Pick you up from a situation. And they won't fall in it with you.
Right. No.
This is what we doing? I'm in.
That's what we doing.
Right.
I'm a plead the fifth on it.
Okay, cool.
But here's what I would say.
Oh,
so when I try to find myself now, because mistakes when you've been married for a while, and you're just like, man, I just never want to put myself in a situation where I need to call a brother, right? That's where that accountability comes in, right? But I got a couple of guys I can call, and it would be like, yo, I'm gonna get you. I do have that. I do that. And I appreciate that, because here's the thing, and I was going to bring this up, is a lot of men want to fix the issue with their spouse before they fix themselves.
Oh.
Right? And I'm finding that whatever is going on in that marriage is, I start with the man first, right? Unless there's some infidelity. Go ahead.
No. I I love what you just said, that it starts with not that it starts with the man first. You said I will start with the man first.
I'm starting with the man first.
Gotcha.
Right.
You got one more time to hit me in my
And
mouth. I know that.
I'm going to pour in, asking for the Holy Spirit just to, hey brother, what can you do? Right? Because most of the guys I talk to, they keep it a buck. And I talk to them because they know I'm not that yes man. So if they out here and I know, like, yo dog, you are wrong. Like bro, what you just said to me, and they appreciate it. They're like, man, I appreciate it, Dave, because you keep it 100 with me. I always start like, bro, you have to be accountable. Fix yourself. Find that therapist. Work on you before that issue can be resolved in your marriage. Because a lot of that is, sometimes I find that there's a lot of insecurities, right, that comes with it. And if that insecurity on that spouse side, and some men, we have our insecurities too. But I find it that if that man can be more solid, understand the nuances, what's going on, whether it's through a third party, through therapy and things like that, fix yourself. That family structure seems to come back together.
Am I on? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah. We hear you. We got stuck in Damon put us in La La Land for a second.
Damon got one more time to punch me in my mouth. I know that.
That's right. I had to post. I just had to post. I had to post something online just now, because it got me. You can't. You trying to fix your spouse. You ain't fix yourself.
You got to fix yourself. And it takes another brother to tell a brother that.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
That wife's girlfriend or best friend, she can't tell that man that.
No.
You know what I notice a lot when it comes to giving men therapy? There is some unwritten rule that all of us have been taught coming up, and that is expressing your emotion is weakness.
Right.
Yeah.
For some reason, and I don't know where this came from, but to show emotion means weakness in our world. You're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to show that you have affection. A lot of guys struggle with sharing with their woman a simple, hey, I appreciate what you did.
Right.
Wow.
That becomes hard to just tell your wife, thanks for looking out for me, babe. I appreciate that. And I don't understand why. And these are the same men that sit in front of me and weep like babies.
Bruh.
And I'm like, why are you doing that here? Do that with your wife. That's who needs to see you in a place where you're vulnerable. My marriage got a whole lot better when I started being more vulnerable with my wife. When I break down all that macho stuff, well, I'm the man. You break all that stuff down, we are human beings at our core. And a lot of times we forget we're human. You're gonna have, let me take it this route. Was Jesus a punk?
Nah.
No, Chief. Not mine.
Okay. Because he wept.
Yeah.
Facts.
Okay.
Anybody ever call him a punk? No. He wept bitterly. You can't tell me that a real man does not cry because Jesus cried.
Yeah.
Don't come at me with that unless you were atheist.
Pee Wee, I see him at the funeral with the glasses on.
Yeah.
So
Right.
let me
The
say
thug
something.
tear.
My wife might get mad at me, but I'm gonna say it.
All right.
Right.
Uh-oh.
So I don't even know if she's on. So to your point, Pee Wee.
She watching you, bro.
She's watching. You know she watching.
To your point, Pee Wee, right? So my 87-year-old dad is visiting me, right? For 6 weeks. He has dementia. He's going through some stuff, right?
Hmm.
So, and he's had some foot problems, right? Trying to get him up, walk, do some circulation and things like that. So he was complaining about his foot. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing some stuff with my dad. I was like, man, dad, man, I'm over here. I'm lotioning your feet. I'm doing all that. I'm like, I ain't never touched another man's foot before. But, I'm going through all that. This is that humble thing, right?
Hmm.
My wife, just the other day, took some time, got all her little pedicure stuff, and just gave my dad pretty much a pedicure, like nails and lotion and massage. I mean, all this stuff, right? And I'm thinking, like, to your point, or Pee Wee, I don't know if he's on or off. I'm like, first of all, she didn't have to do that.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Mhm.
She didn't have to do that. And the affection that I showed her, it almost made me cry. Right. And I'm like, yo, this is my dad, right?
Right.
Mm. Uh,
This is my dad.
hmm.
You could have, and it was late at night. You could have just went to bed, but you saw fit and saw a need and took care of my dad's feet to the point I'm like, wow. And I saw the emotion on my dad's face, which made me emotional. And I'm like, as a man, you should never, ever see something your wife is doing. You got to show that appreciation. You got to say, because you
Right,
can't take
right.
that stuff for granted.
Hmm.
Right. So the vulnerable part, I just hugged her. I was like, babe, you didn't have to do this. And she's like, Damon, this is my dad. You know what I'm saying? I mean, she was just so involved with it, and I appreciate it. And I just show her the love. But you can't just take that stuff for granted. And when you see them doing something, you can't be all prideful. Or I know some men be like, hey, that's my dad. Don't touch his feet. Like, well, why are we doing that? We have to let that go. We can't be that prideful. Like, no, this is mine. Leave this alone. It'll work itself out. No, it's not gonna work itself out.
Right.
Somebody needs to
Right.
come in and help out, and that's what she
Right.
she saw a need and fix it.
So I want to say that there's a two-way street. And what I was thinking when Pee Wee, because I agree with Pee Wee 100%. But Denise said, where was it? She said, because I think it has to do with the fear of being belittled by their wife.
Mm.
This
Mm.
thing called
Yeah,
vulnerability is a
that's
two-way
heavy.
street. You have
Okay.
to find the courage to be vulnerable, but your wife has to create the atmosphere for that.
The
Like,
environment.
let me tell you something. In the beginning of my faith, she learned the lesson quick, fast, in a hurry. She's a quick study, I promise you. I remember we were in the early stages of our relationship. I don't even think uh, Mason was born yet. Nico was
Mm.
there. We were in Pennsylvania at, I believe, the Sesame Place. And a day before, I was in the city in Manhattan, and I got into a little fender bender. And I just was feeling really like, nigga, you 40 something years old. We don't get into fender benders no more.
Right. Right. Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But I was just reminiscent, driving down the West Side Highway, not paying attention, fender bender. Nothing that couldn't be fixed, right? It was fixed, and I didn't even have to go through the insurance to get it done. But for some way, somehow, because I feel like I'm in this current stage of my manhood, like, nigga, I'm sorry, that's our word. I
No, we
don't care
hear,
what
we
nobody
hear.
say.
Just go. Just go. Just
Like,
go. Just go.
bro, we 40 something now. Now I'm 51, but we don't get into fender benders no more. And I remember being there the next day, and she was like, "What's wrong? You're not yourself." And I was
Mm.
like, "Man, that accident yesterday, like," she was like, "Babe, we got insurance. Like, get over it." Right? Even though she said get over it, what I heard was man up. And when you in a place and space like that,
Wow.
that's the worst thing that you can hear. It's
Mhm.
saying, because now you acting like a little.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
how
those words.
that's how we
Yeah.
interpret it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you behaving like a little, right? So when I heard that, I was like, okay, yup, I'm gonna straighten, yup, man, back up, straighten up. But what happened was I ended up closing the door. It was a long time before I was vulnerable in that space again.
Again,
But that's not good. Why?
No.
Because women love the emotional connection. And if I shut you out, I also shut the relationship down because you're not getting it. So you're not going to feel loved. And we're not doing it intentionally. I'm just trying to
Right.
put back on my mask and my shell and my armor so I don't take that hit again. That whatever that thing is that causes us to feel that way, I don't want to take that hit again. So it's
Right.
this two-way street where you got to be vulnerable, but your wife also got to create. If somebody asked the question a while ago, why is it so easy for women to do? Because y'all ain't been raised the way we've been raised.
No, not even close.
We've been raised never to do this. Like I said before, take it on the chin, roll with the punches, never let them see you sweat. And you've been raised like this your entire life.
And
right?
why? Why were you raised like that?
Yeah,
That's
because
important to ask.
because if we show emotion, if we show, then we considered a punk. Or we considered effeminate, if you will. So we can't afford for nobody to be looking at us like that, or even have, a thought that we even anything remotely close to that. So we walk with this certain bravado. Our entire life we walk that way.
Yeah.
Now we get into marriage, and the thing that they told us not to do for years and years and years, we
got to do it.
Flip the switch and be that. You can't turn no switch on. We've been raised this way. You know what I'm saying?
It's almost like Pee Wee, and Pee Wee, we talked about this some time ago, right? that as a young man, I run with guys to do whatever.
Right.
Now I need these same guys to not do whatever.
Yeah.
But Paul, with that's when we talked about earlier. Sometimes you got to get a new set of guys.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Oh.
You do.
And even with that,
because
Oh,
you
go ahead.
got to get a new set of guys because your values now have changed.
That's it. If the environment
Gotcha.
you in ain't serving you well,
Right.
Deuces.
Gotcha.
You got to get a new set of guys.
Absolutely. I see
There's
guys.
Gotcha.
there's some guys in college I don't run with like that no more.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. I hear
And
you.
some people really think, and I'm gonna say men think this a lot of times. They want to sow their royal oats, have their fun, and then when they all done, go get married. You can't turn that off.
Right.
Woo.
You've been playing the field for 40 years, and now all of a sudden you gonna flip that switch and you're a one-woman man now? No. I'm teaching my son right now. When you are dating a woman, a young lady, stay faithful to her. This is practice for marriage. You don't just flip a switch on and become a faithful man. You got to practice doing that. I even tell my son this to keep him safe. I'm not going to switch subjects, but I just tell him this. You may have to protect that girl from herself because she might be the one to say, "Ooh, I want it," and you're going to have to shut it down and say, "No,
Right.
I don't do that." Because at the end of the day, you have just as much responsibility as she does if there's a pregnancy. So that's just something I tell my son. I'm trying to tell my son stuff that I wasn't told. You know, a lot of times we give our kids advice and we try to set the example, but we miss those little things that we either did not get from our parents or we did get. And the things that we did get, sometimes we don't teach them. You know, I want my kid to have everything I didn't have. All right, you did that, but did you give them the stuff that you did have? Like respecting the elders,
Come on, Pee
and
Wee.
being a gentleman. Did you
Yeah,
give
that's
them
good.
all of that too?
Come on.
So when
Come
it
on.
comes to having that same friend group that you're talking about, Damon, you might have to say, bruh, I don't roll like that. So I like you. We can hoop, but that's about as far as we go.
I'm gonna say this, Damon. I'm gonna say this, Damon. And I'm gonna say it the best way I can. That I hate you. So my I straight. And this is one of the reasons why I don't like when Ali comes on either, because I hate him too. You know what I mean? I'll bring it straight. And then we have a problem because I say it's going to always bring the numbers. Here are the facts, Graham. Here are the
Break down.
facts. The truth of the matter is, and I'm gonna tell you this right now, it's tough when you're looking for accountability partners,
Mhm.
and when you find them, you limit them. Okay,
Mm.
Whoa,
okay,
ring that bell again.
Slow,
Whoa.
okay.
slow,
I'm
slow,
going to
slow
give you a
down.
strong
Slow down.
example. All right,
Mm.
There we go.
Pee Wee. I remember one time I talked to Pee Wee some time ago. I mean, me and Pee Wee, I think we were driving
Boston into
to
New York.
Boston.
Yeah.
Okay, now this has got to be about 7, 8 years ago. Okay, maybe even longer than that. There's some things that he threw into my spirit while driving that, and that by the time I got back home, we talked all the way, y'all, all the way. By the time I got home, I said I had foundational things in my life that he put some more cement under.
Mm.
Mm.
And let me tell you something. I had a great time just getting the sledgehammer out
Oof.
and being like, thank you for it, but I'm not ready for it. Thank you for it,
Mm.
but I'm not ready for it. I'm not talking about stuff that'll get me divorced. I'm not talking about stuff that'll get me fired. I'm talking about stuff that I can't I'll be no longer able to hand over to my son. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Right.
And I
Mm.
think then when you make the comment of, hey, you got to find new people. Yo, sometimes I look at the fact that I'm 54. Most of us up here are the same age, except for Pee Wee. Pee Wee's the baby in here. But,
I'm a 45-year-old baby. I take it.
you're a baby. You're a baby.
Hence the nickname Pee
I
Wee.
trade. I trade you. I trade you. I trade
Are
you.
we willing to give up? Not, I'm sorry, you didn't say give up your friendships. Are you willing to find other circles?
I
That's
think
hard,
I
but
think
it has to be done. It's hard, but go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, one thing I want to add on that, and this is where I'm hoping that, and Pee Wee, you probably on this too, that I wish more counselors and therapists would encourage men to find accountability partners.
Mhm.
Definitely.
To me, it's the triple, it's the trifold, whatever term you want to use, but it's our own personal relationship with God. Then
Okay.
if we have that other, where two or three are gathered, there I am in the midst. That's that therapeutic alliance with the
Okay.
therapist or the counselor. But then it needs to go to that, like Jesus had the 12, but then he got deeper with the three, and then he had his relationship with the Father. So it's the same model. Therapists should not be should make sure and empower their clients to say, listen, we're doing some good work, but you need some accountability outside of this therapeutic
Yeah.
alliance.
The support.
Wow.
Right. Right.
And
So
that's
And it,
where this
again,
is where it's a struggle. Go ahead. But I just want
Uh,
to make sure we talked about that part.
no, because that's key in any therapeutic relationship. And when you're talking about tools and you're talking about treatment plans, we ask, do you have a support system? What are your supports around you? Because every man in this chat right now has a friend that is a financial person. You probably
Hmm.
got a mechanic friend. You probably got, well, I don't. You probably got a barber. You probably got all these different guys that you can count on for a particular thing, and you may be even close to them in a certain way, and you'll get something from each and every one of them. Now, when I grew up, my dad was not in my life. Thankfully, my mom remarried a pastor and have been remarried for like 30 years. So for the first 14 years of my life, I didn't really have a father in my life. So I had to learn things from various men that I could pick up on. And my best friend at the time, as a kid, Randy Scott, he taught me how to tie a tie. And I
Hmm.
didn't I
wow,
didn't learn that from a man. I learned that from a 12-year-old kid who was my best friend.
wow,
Love him to this day. And I don't
wow.
even think he remembers that, but I remember him showing me how to tie my tie in church.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And when we get older, we have to kind of branch out. And as we get older, we get wiser. So some of the friends that we have, that friend group starts to get smaller because we don't do everything we used to do. You know,
Hmm.
when Jesus said, oh, I'm sorry, let me not misquote somebody. I don't know who said it. My Bible skills aren't that great. But whoever said I put away childish things when I became a man, who said that?
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's
Was
biblical.
Jesus? Okay. I'm sure Jesus didn't have the same friends he had the whole time. And just like that, the point that was just made, the 12 disciples got a little bit smaller when he got closer to them. Like these were the ones who were really carrying a lot of the load. You know, Peter, you're the rock, but build my church on you. You know, that group got a little bit smaller. And I can't call on each and every friend for the same thing. I've been fortunate to grow up from grade school and still have the same group of friends that I had as a kid. And I can call on them at just about any moment to talk to them about certain things. And even in that friend group, there's certain ones that I can talk to about certain things, but not the other. It doesn't mean I don't like them or love them the same. It's just that, well, I might talk to you about this, but not him, because you have
Ali,
an
no,
expertise in this area. But go ahead, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Pee Wee, I love what you said. That text Paul brings through that text when he says, "When I was a child, I speak as a child."
Oh, okay.
And when I became older, I put away childish things. The sad thing about this is that I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid, right?
Wow.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is growing up comes with responsibilities. Having a wife, there's other responsibilities. Having children, there are other responsibilities. So what I'm also hearing is that if you're responsible for your children, if you're responsible for your wife, you know, and that means that you're responsible for your community. Okay. The frightening thing is, how do you, Ali, I'm going to throw this one at you. How do you then pick, right? How do you then, is it organic? How you pick your accountability partner, or your accountability partner picks you? Is it organic picking your therapist? Is it, how does this thing happen? Step 1, step 2, step 3. How does this happen? And I'm gonna go with accountability first with you, Ali.
Yeah, I don't. I think that may be relative, right? Because it depends on your story, right? So if I'm just going to use myself as the example to answer that question, right? So for me, I would have loved for it to be organic, but for me, it can't be organic. And for me, it has to be me actually being willing to put myself out there and see what comes of it, and then make a call. So I have to actually like go to Damon and put myself out there, and then realize, okay, he ain't that dude. So let me reel it back. And the reason why that is it the way for me is because of the way I grew up. So I was trying to think as I was talking. My father is 89 years old. I do not ever remember seeing him cry.
Come on.
Ever.
Come on.
I have always seen, and what's bugging me out in this season of his life, and I was talking to my sister about this, is that I'm doing stuff for him now. We always viewed him as Superman. He did everything. He took care of everything. I never saw him fretting. I never saw him worrying about nothing. I never saw him pulling his hair about nothing. And so now I grow into this space where I'm killing myself because I'm like, why is it that I can't live up to that?
Man.
I am failing. Trying to replicate that. I cannot replicate it. And I tried for years of my life. And it wasn't until I'm 50. I just turned 53. 53.
Ali, you're not 54?
No, I'm behind you. I'm behind you.
Okay. You gotta talk to your old roommate. You talk to your old roommate. Yo, we not 54, bro.
I'm one behind you.
I must be the old dude. I must be the OG on this joint.
Yeah. And here's what's crazy, right? With me being 53, it was not until I was 49
Mm.
that I was like, if I don't actually go find it, it ain't happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
So to
Wow.
answer your question, for me, it could not be organic, or I'd still be waiting right now.
Oh
Oh,
boy.
Yeah.
I say, are we too old? I say, are we too old to find
Oh
that?
no.
No,
Are we too set in our ways?
We
It's
evolve it until the day we drop, man.
yeah,
that if you have
that's
that
right.
mindset to think you're good, that's the beginning of the end. You
That's the
already
tough part.
years behind.
And
Just like
here's the
go ahead, go
thing.
ahead, go ahead.
Here's the thing. Oh, it wasn't even so much that I thought I was good.
Mm.
It's that the example that I had was what I was trying to replicate.
Okay.
So it wasn't even like, oh, I don't need nobody. I'm good. I'm gonna knock down walls by myself. But the example was Oswin Marcel did everything.
Mm.
Why in the world? I'm literally like, I am in depression and anxiety and having panic attacks, trying to figure out why in the world can I not replicate that?
Mm.
And it
Mm.
was so easy for him. And it
So you
is
thought
horrendously hard for me.
Mm.
it
So
was easy for him.
I thought it was easy for him, right? So
Yeah.
I spend my time spinning my wheels trying to figure that out. And that's the rut that I got stuck in. Only to
Mm.
realize, wait a minute, I need some folk around me. I didn't
Mhm.
see people around my dad. Now that doesn't mean he didn't have it, but I didn't see that. I didn't see him hanging out with dudes. I didn't see him doing none of that. So I'm like,
Yeah.
where am I going wrong?
Mm.
And that's kind of the ideology that I took on, only to realize, wait a minute, this ain't a one-man game right here.
Mm.
Wow. I think it's important for our kids to see us have weak moments.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. Yeah.
when I was going through and getting my license to counsel, I went and I took my license exam. I was like, oh, I got this. I just graduated. Nope, I missed it by 5 points.
Mm.
I was devastated.
Mm.
Mm.
And so my wife, she supported me, love her to death. And she was like, look, you're gonna have to study. And I don't care if you fail it again, you're gonna study and take it again. Because I was crushed. You know, as a man, you don't want to fail anything. But I
Mm.
sat at my table in my living room and I studied. I was studying 4 hours a day for my exam. And my kids would come up to me, Dad, can we go do this? Nah, man, I gotta study. Nah, man, I gotta study. And I took it again and I killed it the next time. And so whenever my kids are struggling with schoolwork, I point to the dining room table. I said, do you remember when your father was over there
Mm.
studying for that test that he failed?
Mm.
Do you
Mhm.
Yeah.
remember I had to not play with you? I had to do all that, make those sacrifices. Do you remember? So did daddy quit? No. So now there is no quitting. And I can
Mm.
say, you saw me struggle. You saw me go through that. So I don't want to hear that anymore. So I think a lot of times we try to hide the fact that we have some weaknesses, some deficiencies from our kids because we want to look like He-Man or Superman to them. But at the same time, we got to show, hey, we're human. Dad will mess up.
Pee Wee, get
Yeah.
out my
Mm.
business. Get out my
Hey,
And
business.
we don't
You already
realize,
know.
hey,
Wow.
hey, P,
Wow.
we
Out my
don't
business.
realize that that's actually an important part of the process.
Mhm.
Like
Mm.
that stuff that we try to hide
yeah,
actually builds them in a very holistic way.
yeah.
Because then what we end up doing is feeding something into them that perpetuates the very thing that we ourselves are trying to get out of.
Oh my goodness. It's real.
Gotcha.
It's
All right.
real.
All right. All
Ali, I
right.
And
It's
that
promise
real.
you.
right there is how you make your kids better than you. We all want our kids to be better than us, but we
Right.
got to show them us with our mess too.
That's it.
Mm.
Pee Wee, I promise you. I have an 11-year-old who just turned 12 yesterday. I
Mm,
remember one particular incident where he needed help with his math homework, right? And I was like, Nico, get a clean piece of paper and work the problem out. And I was like, you're always trying to do it in your head. He's like,
mm,
I don't see why you giving me problems. You do it in your head.
Mm.
And I was like, Nico, you know how long I've been doing the math that you're doing? I said, don't think that I just woke up one morning and I'm doing it in my head. You know how many
yeah,
sheets of paper I had to show my work, right? Because your
Mm.
teacher's always going to show you where's the work. I know you
yeah.
got
Show
the
you what.
answer. How did you get this answer?
Right, right.
Right.
Right. And so if he does anything and doesn't get it immediately, my
Mm,
man is I'm talking about attitude. He throwing stuff around the place. And I'm like, that's not how you get there. And I don't know what it is about this present day society that allows children to, or allows them, if I don't get it immediately, I'm a failure. Don't you know that the equation for success is failure plus failure plus failure plus failure divided by failure multiplied by failure and failure 2 more times, add that and just for good measure add 3 more on the end equals success.
Man, you said so
Right.
much right there
Because
without even knowing you said it. But you said you got to show your work.
that's it. Because the failure is
show
not
it.
necessarily the failure. The success is an amalgamation of what you learned each time you failed
Right.
that brought you to this place of success.
Right.
So which made what you said earlier, Damon, so strong, right? Because Psalms 90 is perfect. Ain't nobody got no time to be fighting with failure and all. Okay, if this is a part of the process, let me go ahead and embrace it. Why?
Right.
Because I have limited time. The word says what, 70.
Mm.
That's it.
Pete just passed away the other day at 54, 55. The tomorrow ain't promised.
Right.
And so the part that it really hits home for me is teach us to number our days so we can apply wisdom to our hearts. All right.
And let's be clear, theologically, teach us to number our days means look back at your failures.
Right.
That's what teach us to number our days mean. It doesn't teach us to number our days means that I learned from something. I learned from messing up. I learned from the failures. So that now I can apply my heart unto wisdom, or now my situation unto wisdom. And I say, when you make the comment earlier that, well, what are we afraid of as Black men? What are we afraid of as a people of color? Not to sit down and be able to speak about our fears and to speak about our failures and to speak about our shortcomings. What are we afraid of? Are we afraid of that we won't make it? Are we afraid of that we won't attain? Do we think that we're wasting time? I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
I think that a lot of men are afraid of, we don't have the vision of the next best version of ourselves. And so because we don't know that, we want to hold on to this version of ourselves.
Wow.
Even if it's sinking.
Wow.
And I think that's the fear. We don't have that faith. It's the faith. It's a faith work in which to step in and to walk along a journey and not seeing the destination physically, but by faith we see it, because God promised that eye has not seen, ear has not heard, neither has entered into the heart of man the things that God has prepared for those who love him. We limit God, and thus we stay the same version of ourselves.
Wow.
Because we're more afraid than we have confidence and faith in God to take us to that next level and to increase our capacity for not only spiritual things, but resources and finances and emotional intelligence and all the things that he wants to pour into us. But we're so content with just having our little, like I got my, I get the dressing at Chipotle, y'all. And so so this is what we bring to God. And it's like, man, okay, I got that, but you know what else? And that's that fear, Paul.
Yeah.
We come to God and think that this is all he has for us.
Wow.
And because we don't want to do the work to increase the capacity because we believed a lie.
Wow.
We believed a lie. And I heard earlier somebody said that it's not the truth that you're holding on to, it's a tomb. I said, oh my goodness.
Wow.
Because it's keeping us encased in this lie. It's not a truth. That's not the truth. That's not who God says you are.
Yeah.
But we've believed it, and see, the problem with the tomb is that it's comfortable.
My goodness.
It's got air conditioning. It's just, you got some move around space, but you're still in a tomb because you have to become the next best version of yourself.
Turn his
You're
mic
stuck.
off, man.
And the blessings just bounce right off.
Y'all have a good night. I've had enough.
Right, he turned his
look,
back.
it's all coming in. It's all coming in. Lord, boss sake.
You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of getting my ace whooped. I'm
What
done.
kind of
Yeah. Now,
I'm talking to y'all, but I'm talking to myself because
come
I'm like,
on, man. Come on. Come on.
I'm so y'all.
You-
I'm
let me
just
tell you
so bored
something.
being
Let me tell you
satisfied.
something.
This has
The
been
thing
brought to you by the good folks over at We Whoop Your Tail. .com.
I got to tell you this, man, because we only got 15 minutes left, but I want to share something with you. When you look at the very fact that what I'm hearing tonight from every individual is you can't sit on your behind and expect things to heal.
No.
Yo, when Damon, when you said you don't work on your marriage before you work on you, Chief.
Mm.
You don't work on your spouse before you work on you. You know, when you sitting there, Pee Wee, and you talking about you have the right to check who you want. You interview them as your therapist. You know what I'm saying? Um, this is the reality that I like what Mike just said. That healing is not organic. You've got to put in the work. You got, and the thing what I don't like is for me, which you've answered the question already, is that to put in the work means that you got to see yourself. You got to see yourself where God sees you.
Mm. That's
That's it.
always tough.
Remember now, I don't care what neighborhood you grew up in. I don't care what. Let me tell you something. Oh boy. All right. Okay, honey. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Somebody else said something
Ayanla
that was good
says
too.
you got to
You got to
do
do the
the
work.
Somebody else said you got to be an active participant in your own healing.
come on. Come on.
I didn't say
Wow.
that. Somebody, I think her name was
Sade said
Sade.
that.
Sade
Sade
said
said
that.
that.
Sade say that.
Yes,
Yeah,
she
Sade said
did.
that.
That's it.
Yes, she
that
did.
is so
Where's the
true.
verse?
So true. And I wanted to
And
touch on something real quick.
okay, go ahead.
Because I think Osei he reminded me of how Moses, when he was in his judging mode, judging all of Israel, right? And he was doing it from night to day to night. And his father-in-law came to visit.
Yes.
And his father-in-law checked him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wait a minute, this is dude, he talks to God. Why did God send another dude
Yeah.
to give Moses some counsel? And Jethro was like, yo, you better stop this, man. You doing too much. You need to handle the big stuff and let these guys handle the little stuff, or you gonna die.
Mm.
And he
Wow.
listened to him. This is the same person that talked to God. But God sent him somebody that's on his level. Said, all right, he needs to hear from him. Come on, man. Go ahead. Jethro, I'm gonna talk to you.
Because you ain't hearing from me.
Because you ain't hearing it from me, right? You ain't hearing from me, right? And he listened. That's the whole
Mm.
key right there. He listened. Moses
Yeah.
became an active participant in his healing by listening.
Yeah.
Okay. And Pastor Graham, you touched on this too, how to find that person that's accountable. You can't find an accountability partner that has the same weaknesses as you.
My
You can't do
God.
it.
Okay. All right. Good night.
You can't do it.
but
That's
here's
like
the
that's like an
We'll
obese
see. We'll see
person
y'all. We'll
going
see
to
y'all.
another obese person, say, "Yo, man, help me lose weight."
Pee
What?
Wee. You know what's so funny? What I hear you saying in all of
Oh
this,
my
right?
goodness. That's
Look
good.
at Wendy. Look at Wendy. It's development, right?
Yeah.
What I hear you saying in all of this is that no matter where we find ourselves in this journey called life, there's always work to be done. And when you said it, right, what came to mind was Elijah, because
Okay.
really his story really speaks to uh, uh, how sometimes we riding high and we operate in the fullness of gifts and we knocking stuff out of the box like we killing
Mm-hmm.
the game. Elijah
Mm-hmm.
was there, 850, 400 from Asherah, you know what I'm saying? Another 450 from Baal, like, and he slayed all of them. My man telling them, oh, call out louder, jeering them. My man in the fullness, like moving with heavy swag, like telling them, look, call your God. Maybe he's relieving himself. I'm like, man, this
Yes.
nigga's acting a plum fool right now. But he operating in the fullness of who he is in terms of a
Mm-hmm.
prophet. And he's clowning all of these prophets.
Wow.
The next chapter, Jezebel said to him, if I don't do what you did to them prophets and more, next thing my man is in a cave somewhere, shook, disconnected.
Mm.
Like I'm talking about like a dog with his tail between his legs. And I
Yeah.
find it crazy that how sometimes as men we up here like moving in the fullness of our swag, and then another day we cowering like we
Yeah.
feeling insecure, inadequate. And here's what God did. He knew exactly what that joker needed. Let him rest. Angel came. Here goes some
Feed him.
food to eat.
Give some feet
Refresh
food.
yourself because you got a
Mm.
long journey ahead of you. Go back to
Yeah.
rest. Rest done. Wake up. You got this person to anoint, this person to anoint. And he didn't even know that the chariot of fire would just,
Right. He didn't know.
Yeah. But look
Mm.
what
which
happened
further
there.
lets me know that no matter what life presents in terms of who we are, there's still work to be done. And you got to do the things that give you rest or refresh you for the next move. So if it
Yeah.
means that I got to be vulnerable, all right, Lord,
Mm.
you're going to have to work with me on this because this vulnerability thing is something that I've never, so I can't do it in the full strength of me. We all believers. Everything else that you struggle with outside of being believers, okay, we
Yeah.
understand that. But there's something that we have as believers, like, okay, good. I can't do this in the fullness of my own strength. You're going to have to live your perfect life through me concerning vulnerability. So I'm going to pray and I'm going to ask you to cover me. And then after you cover me, you're going to have to live your life out through me such that when it comes to those decisions where I'm feeling fearful of what I may face,
Mm.
okay, God, yep, I need you right here because this is where I get the F every time.
And
Wow.
look at
Mhm.
that. Look
Oh,
how
Mhm.
every Bible character that we read about, all of them got to their place of notoriety when
Yep.
God put them in a position where they were uncomfortable. Every single one of them.
Yes, sir.
You have to come out of that comfort zone, and that's how you're going to move forward. Every single one. Name somebody from the Bible. They got put in a position where they were uncomfortable, and that's when God was able to use them. Every single
like
one.
like an air conditioned tomb.
Yeah, exactly.
Like an air
And
conditioned
that's what's
tomb.
happening with us, with all this having to be able to express ourselves. And we got to come out of our
Mm.
comfort zone, and then we get
Mm.
elevated.
Listen, guys. Listen. I got questions
I
for
don't
each
like
one of
y'all.
you. I don't like y'all. I got a question for each one of you, and you know how we always do it. Once I ask the question, give me your answer. I want to thank you guys for coming on tonight. And listen, I'm going to ask for those who are listening on, share this with a gentleman, share this with
Mhm.
your sons, share this with just with an individual. This is not scripted. It's all about just having a conversation that will lift up men so that we can be better. What I've learned tonight, I'm going to be
Mm.
clear before I ask you the question. What I've learned tonight is number one, you got to put in the work. I've also recognized don't be afraid of therapy. I also recognize that maybe it's time to find a new circle. Come on, somebody. I mean, this is just some of the things that I've recognized. Ali, I've got to be honest. We've got to be honest. We've got to, and that the generation that that we are looking at, we've got to know that we can't only follow them, but we've got to be better than them. And I want to thank all of you all for coming on. But before you go, um, I want to give a shout out to my man Nikolai. I see my man Nikolai. He is now in Florida at Pisgah Church. Man, good to see you on tonight. Annalisa, good to see you. Dr. Vivia, hey, good to see you. And Sade, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I just want to shout out to Mike Dorch, Jimmy Gibson. These are individuals that just add on, just keep on adding on. Dre Lyons, man, thank you, bro. Thank you.
Big up yourself.
Big up Atlanta. What do you mean? All right. And man, listen, I just want to just share with you all that, and I say it, and I always say it all the time. I don't just have these conversations just to have it. I'm learning. Thank you for
Mhm.
the unscripted conversation. So, Pee Wee, I'm gonna start with you. What does accountability look like for you?
Oh man, accountability looks like reaching into that tomb and pulling it out without any fear.
Mm.
That's what it looks like, man. Don't be afraid to talk about that thing that you know is causing you to stumble. Don't be afraid.
Mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm, mm. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Pee Wee, thank you for joining us, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
So
It's I don't even know what I'm doing here. What am I doing here? All right, there we go. Thank you. Right, there we go. Thank you so much, man. Be blessed. Hey, be blessed. Hey, Dana, I wanna ask you this straight off. How could we be more accountable to each other? I'm not talking about me and you as men. How could we
Yeah,
be
yeah,
more
yeah,
accountable
yeah.
to each other?
I just think dialogue like this, with men, we have a tend to see everybody has different type of personalities, extrovert, introvert, right? That extrovert might reach out and be like, yo, man, I'm going through something. But that introvert, you'll just never know. I think through the Holy Spirit and that relationship that we have, that Holy Spirit is going to let you know, man, there's a brother that you need to call him today,
Mm,
right? But I think that connection with God first, understanding that I need to check in on a brother.
mm,
There was a brother I haven't talked to in a while. He texted me just 2 days ago. I know he's going through some stuff. He asked me what was I doing. I say I'm going to the tailgate. Blah blah blah. And I was going to leave it at that. But I knew, let me just reach out to this brother. Hey man, how are you doing? Forget about the football game. How are you doing? So I think it's being intentional.
Mm.
I think it's getting out of your own way.
wow.
Um, and understanding that there's brothers out here that need help. And if you're in a position, we're all busy. We all got lives, our kids, but there's a time where we can carve out a few minutes to make a call or send a text. So I think it's more so being intentional about the situation, because even though our age group, the youngins think we got it made, but we struggle,
Mm.
right? We struggle. So I think it's being intentional to know that we all need to, see what's going on with another brother and just it kind of catch up and see what the deal is.
Hey, listen, that's how you started earlier today. That's how you finished today. Thank you so much, man. That, like you said to your son before, talk to somebody. Just
Talk to
ask.
that person.
You don't know where they're at. You don't know where they're at or what they need. Damon, man, thank you so much. And I hope that hope we go out again soon. Bye. 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 Bye.
All right, peace, brothers.
All right, peace,
All right,
baby.
peace.
All
Indeed.
right.
All right.
All right. Ali, man, I love your gems, man. I love your gems, and I love your man laws. I know you. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, when we look at accountability, how important is it for responsibility for us to be responsible for one another? How important it is for us to be responsible for one another. I know y'all never heard these questions, so I'm just throwing it at you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, you know, um, being responsible for each other is paramount to all of our success.
Mm.
Wow, wow,
Mm.
This
wow.
accountability piece,
I like that.
what I'm learning right now is that this accountability piece for me is actually, if not the catalyst, a catalyst to my growth. And it's not an optional catalyst.
Mm.
And that's how I feel about the responsibility piece. My responsibility to you, to everybody in this grid, to the people that God sends my way, to the people who he kicks me in the back towards, that responsibility is not optional. And what we're going to realize is that if we don't embrace that level of responsibility for others,
Mhm.
it will be a detriment to us.
Mm.
Wow. 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 Hey, Ollie, thank you. I didn't even expect that answer, man. In,
Mm.
in other words, it's our call. It almost sounds like you're saying it's our calling
It's
to
our
be responsible for
right.
one another.
Because think about it like this, P. Think about it like this. If you have children, right? And you're responsible to those children, right? If you decide, you know what, I no longer want to be responsible for those children. Not only do they suffer, but so do you. Matter of fact, you may suffer greater because of the weight that you will carry because you weren't responsible.
Got it.
Because they may find their way on their own, and you will still carry that weight.
Jesus,
You
have
chose
mercy.
not to be responsible.
Ali, I'm going to dismiss you differently. Get off. Hey, listen, roomie. I say this to my roomie. Love you, man. I love you, man.
Much
Love you. We don't talk enough.
Hey, we got to catch up, bro.
Definitely.
It's good to see you, man. Yeah.
Definitely.
Q, you already know what it is.
Man, we need to.
Yes, sir.
Please.
I got you.
Okay.
I'm gonna text you tomorrow. I promise you. I'm gonna text
you
tomorrow. All right.
Peace. Be blessed, Ali.
Pete, what you're saying is strong, because I'm telling you, when I say I'm feeling the weight of that now because I'm a grandfather now.
Yes. That's serious. I say, man, I want to just simply say thank you for just jumping on, man. Thank you for being that individual.
I needed this tonight, for real.
Man, brother, whatever. We needed you tonight, man. I don't care, right. Yo, listen, man. Give kudos to Tony for us, man. Just please let her know that we're thinking about her. And I want to ask you this, because a lot of times when you were talking tonight, it brought up the mindset of pride. How can we get past that pride for the level of accountability?
We got to serve.
Man.
We got to serve.
Yes, sir.
Pride is very insular. But when we find spaces that our gifting can bless others, that's God's call for us to add that responsibility. We are accountable to our gifting. And if we're not operating in our gifting, that's where the pride gets birthed and it starts multiplying. When we go and serve, we show that we appreciate the gifting that God has blessed us with. And as and this is why being what Damon said is so powerful, because we have to be filled before we can pour. And that's where I think the problem occurs, is that pride is when we continually pour, or we continually are filled, but we never give and pour into others. So we allow the filling to happen, but we don't pour. That's where the pride gets diminished and eliminated, when we go and serve and bless other people.
Wow. It almost seems like that's part of putting in the work. Yo, listen, I'll say thank you, man. Thank you for being on. Thank you, man. We should, again, we got to do this again. Somebody just hit me up and said, man, we need to take this to Pelk. I just think we need to take it to our churches. You know what I mean? For sure.
We definitely got to have a conversation about that.
I know.
So don't even, so that's
I got you.
I keep telling them about this live that we need to have. I keep
telling It's true. All right, I'll say good to see you, boss. Good to see you.
Hey, Quest, let me catch up with you. Next time. This is good right here.
This is good. It's good. And man, I just want to just pause for a second, man. My big sister is on right now, and my big sister Brenda Walsh. That's my big sister. I don't talk to her every day, but when I see her, I love her to death, man. That's right. Shout out to Brenda Walsh. So we have ended another night. Man, we're blessed tonight. And the one thing that I got out of this thing for me, and I'll ask you now, I'll ask you, but I'm going to tell you what I got out of this.
Yep.
Got to put in the work.
That's it. When we first started doing this, P, what's my favorite word?
Development.
Yeah, that's all. That's really what all of this is.
Yeah, it's development.
Mm-hmm.
That's development. Listen, man. Great talking.
Come on, man.
We'll chat soon.
Come on, man.
We'll chat soon.
Come on, man.
All right, man. All the time.
Yeah.
Peace, bro. Peace. Come on.
So it's